You're very welcome along to the Matchbook Weekend Football Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, joined by Mark O'Haire and Adrian Clarke. As always, before we get going, I might have briefly mentioned, Adrian, to regular listeners and viewers that I was over for the Arsenal-Everton game on Saturday. A brilliant day trip till about 3:01. Got the North London forever in, and pretty poor performance. I thought you nailed it throughout the game at Arsenal. Both teams to score. No, just Arsenal couldn't score themselves.
Well, Everton didn't look like scoring, did they? So, yeah, I think we're on a safe bet there. But, yeah, Arsenal wouldn't mind having another go at that game. It was very disappointing. Didn't do enough to break down an Everton team that defended superbly. So, credit to them. Let's hope they can do the same against Chelsea this weekend, the Toffees. But Arsenal are back now. Beat Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup. Onwards and upwards.
Jesus hat-trick, every finish more powerful. So look, I think that he actually left with no choice to throw him in. Just the striker situation with Arsenal at the moment, I guess, scoring goals. Mark, brief word on the Arsenal. It just seems that they're doing a lot right defensively, but it just seems so one-dimensional. It seems so obvious what's going wrong in attacking. Just make it a bit more unpredictable.
You guys will be better placed than I to comment on Arsenal, but it feels like the momentum that was regained after Martin Odegaard's return has kind of ebbed away quite rapidly, actually, and back-to-back draws has left you kind of leaving a lot to do now in the title race, and obviously injuries have bitten hard. You're talking about the availability up front, excuse me, but defensively, of course, you look at the sort of back four that played midweek against Crystal Palace, and you are being stretched quite far in terms of personnel available. We'll have to wait and see who's available for this weekend. But I've been a little bit underwhelmed and quite disappointed, actually. I thought Everton defended diligently, and we'll get to them later in the show. But Arsenal need to be doing a lot more, really, if they're going to be serious contenders for the title.
Yep, that's the end of the Arsenal chat for this podcast. So said we get it in nice and early, over and done with. 4 games we're going to cover. Spurs versus Liverpool, the big one, you have to say, although Villa, City, Everton, Chelsea run it close, of course. And then we have Leicester versus Wolves, which is fascinating, even just looking at those match prices, to be honest. So there are 4 marquee games. Any other bets, long shots and best bets. Reminder, insights.matchbook.com, full recap of all the guys' picks. If you are following, or wherever you're following or watching or listening, hit that follow button and subscribe completely for free. And do check out the Matchbook Bet and Exchange. Invariably, for your single bets, you're getting the best price on the odds checker grid. But you can, of course, as we'll touch on throughout the show, do the sports bookie bet builder type bets, and there can eke out some value there as well. Both Mark and Adrian have some exciting ones there. And to let you know, we will be back on Monday, so check out our social channels. We will be doing a Christmas show this year, Monday, previewing we're going to drum up the excitement. It doesn't seem the best card of Stephen's Day's fixtures or Boxing Day, wherever you're watching or listening, that is. But we will have a show for you on Monday, so check out the Matchbook social channels and turn notifications on YouTube so you never miss a show. Let's start with Tottenham versus Liverpool. This will be our podcast bet builder treble money back, so stay tuned to the end of this segment. Spurs 4.5, underdogs at Liverpool are 179. The draw is 4.4. Both teams to score away for this price here now. Looking at this one this morning, 131. Mark, I think that's a record for games we've covered Premier League. I'm going to say that now. And Asian handicap lines see Spurs get a 3/4 goal head start at 196. The total is 3.5, 178. I might let Mark delve into numbers shortly on that to see, or fact check that one, Adrian. But we're recording this before Spurs, Manchester United. Spurs, Southampton were probably the perfect oppositions for them. But that first half does show they, attacking wise, no matter who they're playing, they're going to have a threat. So the question is, can they do enough defensively to hold this Liverpool attack at bay, plus trying to get goals themselves?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what you're going to get with Tottenham Hotspur. I think that much is abundantly clear, really. Both teams to score 1.31. It makes sense. Spurs just that one clean sheet at home in 23 Premier League games. That's against Everton earlier on in the season. It's a long time, isn't it? It's a big old period there where they've keep conceding on home turf, and obviously with the visit of the leaders, you would expect that run to continue. But could Spurs outscore Liverpool? Yeah, they absolutely could. 5 up at halftime against Southampton. It'd be tougher against Liverpool, but they smashed 4 past City at the Etihad. It'd be tougher than that. but they are good enough in forward areas to cause problems. And look at Liverpool. They've as excellent as they are, they've been letting in goals, haven't they? Given up a lot of chances against Fulham, 2 apiece. Newcastle 3 apiece. Southampton even scored multiple goals against them. So it's I think this should be a cracking game. Absolutely the game of the weekend. Well, Forest Brentford has a look of a good one too, or Brentford Forest rather. But yeah, you would sense that goals would definitely happen here. And both teams to score has landed in their last 8 meetings, by the way. So historically as well, it's the kind of game where both teams sort of land. I couldn't tell you who's going to win it. Yeah, Liverpool are the stronger team, obviously, but Spurs on their day could turn them over. As simple as that. The thing about Liverpool is we don't yet know how robust they are on the road. They've only faced 2 of the top 12 away, Liverpool. All of the guys that they've played in the top 10, top 11, top 12, most of them have been at Anfield, and they've done very well against them. But away from home, they've got some tough games to come in the second half of the season. They drew 2-2 at Arsenal. I think Arsenal were the better team. Newcastle was 3 apiece. So, yeah, I'm fascinated to see how they handle this game. Absolutely fascinated. Not many clean sheets from Liverpool lately either. I think both teams' scores landed in 6 of their last 8 for Spurs. 6 of their 8 this season as well. Both teams' scores landed. So how do we get the 1.31 up? I'm going to do what we've been doing lately and go with both teams scoring under 4.5 goals. Comes out at 2.3. So that's a big old jump. That is a nice jump. And why under 4.5? Well, Liverpool don't get involved in that many crazy games. There's a little bit of pragmatism about them under Slot, and there certainly will be, I think, here. They won't want it to be a really open, entertaining basketball match, Liverpool. They want to have an element of control. So if you look at the numbers, 13 of Liverpool's 15 games have gone under 4.5. For Tottenham, obviously a much wilder team, still 11 out of 16 have gone under 4.5. So, yeah, I think that both teams to score feels very likely. But you're getting an awful lot of scorelines on your side here by going with the under 4.5. You got the 2-1s, the 3-1s as well as the low score as the draw. So yeah, I think. Both teams scoring under 4.5 is the best play if you really want to get on board with both teams to score at a reasonable price.
Okay, yeah, had a bit of success with Wolves Ipswich with this bet last week. Both teams to score, yes, but under 4.5 goals. The 2-1, for example, Wolves Ipswich, and that came in above even money, as well as this one, which is 2.3. Mark, I was just thinking, seeing that 131 price, what other teams in the Premier League with Spurs at home can play Spurs and have a price less than or shorter than 131? So you have Liverpool. Would Arsenal be maybe a little bit bigger? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I don't think right now no side would be, or no game involving Spurs at home would be a shorter price. It was 135-ish, I think, when they hosted Chelsea a fortnight ago. Now, the reason it's so short is obviously goals are very much guaranteed in any Tottenham game, but Liverpool are the odds-on favourites away from home. So I think the question is, are any other side going to be a shorter price than Liverpool are right now away at Tottenham as we're speaking? And I don't think it will be, because we see Man City are now 2.2-ish away at Villa, for example. That's almost a comparison, if you like. Chelsea were odds against to win here. So no side would be shorter than Liverpool right now. So for that reason, I think the Premier League right now, that would be the shortest price. Obviously, someone like Bayern Munich, maybe Real Madrid or Barcelona, would probably be the only sides you could kind of get that price down to as low as it is. And Adrian's done a brilliant job sort of providing the background of this fixture in terms of goals, the reasons for goals in both sides as well. It's a fixture Spurs have tended to struggle in. They were beaten 4-2 at Anfield last year. Did win this game, but if you remember rightly, they scored a 96th minute goal and were playing against 9 men. Liverpool had 2 red cards in that fixture. That's only their second win in 23 league meetings with Liverpool. Both of those wins came in the last 11 when hosting Liverpool. So, yeah, I think for that reason, and for the reason that Spurs are missing a catalogue of key players through key areas of their team as well. You know, no goalkeeper, 2 centre halves missing, a left back out, Pedro Porro being the only first choice defender. You know, Ben Davies is out as well. So you're looking at Archie Gray and Dragerson at centre half, Jed Spence at left back, Porro at right back, Basuma is back, but Ben Tenkor is still suspended as well. So yeah, that they are down to the bare bones really in sort of defensive areas, and I think that is going to be an issue. So of course, this is a team who we've seen many times rise and play absolutely brilliantly. Sometimes when you least expect it. I mean, I look at the first half hour against Chelsea where they were absolutely terrific, but then you look at the sort of the last half hour of that game too, and the implosion that they put on in that game to lose. They're capable of almost anything. So I know it's always a bit of a concern when you try and either get with them or oppose them. Quite happy to sort of leave them alone normally, just focus on the goals. Because I also like BTTS, even though it's so short. But it's trying to find a way to engineer that into a more palatable price. And I think the obvious solution to me to begin with was just to chuck in Liverpool double chance. They've won 20 of 24 games now under Slot, which is quite outrageous, really. I think that's the best or the second best ever start of a new manager in English football history, which is astonishing, really. Yes, they are outperforming their data, and yes, they haven't looked as dominant or domineering as perhaps you'd expect a team to be off the back of that kind of run. But they're getting results and they're sort of grinding it out when they need to. Defensively, though, I think they can be got out. I think Newcastle and Fulham have shown that recently. 2 clean sheets now in 8 Premier League games. They've faced 12 or more shots in 4 of the last 6. They've given up 14 big chances in the last 5. So that ought to encourage a Spurs team who, as we know, are always full of goals themselves. But yeah, I kind of like having Liverpool on side as well in this game. But to get it into sort of, as I say, a more palatable territory, I've just included Liverpool to score under 4.5 goals, which gets almost the 3-legged bet builder up to 183. And the reason I chose under 4.5 goals is Spurs haven't conceded 5 or more under Postecoglou since he's come to the club. Liverpool have scored 5 goals or more once away from home in the Premier League since October 2021, and that was during Leeds' relegation campaign. So yeah, it's not something they do often enough, and as Adrian says, they're not often involved in high-scoring games either. But it just felt a bit more safe to me to be going down that route than sort of predicting or opposing goals in the match itself, because as we know, Spurs could be anything. So that was my selection here, which was Liverpool double chance, both teams to score, Liverpool under 4.5 goals at 183.
Okay, Mark calling it now. You won't see shorter than 131 in the Premier League this season for both teams to score. Yes, at least the present day. We'll see. Hopefully we do get that lower. It'll just show you where a couple of teams might go attacking wise. But Mark started with both teams to score in his selection, ends up with a 183 price, bringing in Liverpool double chance and Liverpool under 4.5 goals. This is our £10 podcast. Money back as a free bet. If it loses, treble. We're going to combine the two. So Liverpool double chance for Mark, both teams to score, yes, and under 4.5 goals with Adrian's 2 selections. It gives you 275. So quite a decent jump there. So if you want to get involved in that, check out literally back this bet on the match with Bet Builder. Liverpool double chance, both teams to score, yes, under 4.5 goals, 275. You will get your money back as a free bet, up to £10 if it loses on Monday morning, and we will be doubling this offer for one time only in our Christmas show on Monday. So if you do want to have a little pre-Christmas bet, do check out the show on Monday. Let's move on. Aston Villa versus Manchester City and take a look at the betting that we have at matchbook.com. It's Saturday early kickoff. I mean, so many unanswered questions going into this game. Villa 345. Mark touched on this City price here, 2.16. The draw is 3.9. Both teams score, yes, 157, another quite short price. The Asian handicap line does see Villa get a quarter goal head start at 2.1, and the total for this game currently stands at 2.5. Adrian, might start with you on this one again. You've tried targeting certain games for the under 2.5 goals, because obviously we know the theme of the last maybe 18 months has been goals in the Premier League, but there are certain spots that you can potentially, there is maybe an overreaction, and therefore there is a bit of value on under 2.5 goals.
Yeah, that's why I've picked it here. 2.52 is a good price, a very good price in my opinion. Anyone that saw the Manchester derby last weekend will know that City are way off it. They're just way off being anywhere near their best as an attacking force. You've got so many players in their team that are short on goals. Foden's the player with the most shots without a goal, 24. Savino's second with 20 shots, no goals. I think Gundogan's up there as well, 15 shots, no goals. They're just lacking a little bit of confidence there. And I see this being a tight game. It was last year. Aston Villa did a job on City, if you remember. It was about a year ago. It was just, I think it was early December.
Midweek.
And yeah, City won. City lost 1-0 to Villa, and didn't have a shot after the 11th minute, which is quite remarkable, really, for Manchester City. So where I'm thinking here is that Emery has a blueprint. He's had success, albeit it's his only success against Pep Guardiola. But he found a way to win, and he really crowded out the middle third that day, and used the excellent closing down and pressing to great effect, actually. And I think after having a week off, Emery has had plenty of time to build a game plan for this one. And if I'm him, I'm going for something similar. The same with Pep, really. He's had a rare week on the training pitch. So again, what do the City need to do? They need to concentrate on stop conceding goals, don't they? I mean, both teams actually have let in 14 goals in their last 7 matches. So that's 2 a game. And it's not like either of them, particularly not City. So this week's training has given both managers, I think, an opportunity to iron out some of those defensive issues, to really work on them. And for that reason, I just sense that this, and because City are off form, and because Villa had that blueprint last year, I throw it all together, and I don't see a game that's going to be crazy. I just see a game that's going to be quite tactical, and quite tight. 3 of Villa's 5 games against teams above them this season have gone under 2.5, and none went over 3 goals. So Villa against the real top sides this year, been involved in low scoring affairs. So and City at Liverpool and against Chelsea, both under 2.5. Two games against top sides went under. So yeah, I really, you could probably make an argument that neither team can defend, and that you should go overs here, and that's why the price is the price. But I just think at 2.52, you get good value here, and I can absolutely see a tactical match with 2 teams. Well, certainly in City's case, that are low on confidence. So yeah, I'm going to go for unders.
Under 2.5 goals, 252. Mark, I was similar lines with what Adrian just said at the end, that you'd probably expect goals given how these 2 teams defend. But that week off angle, it's tough to factor that into betting in general, but I don't think it's the worst angle in the world to attack this game with.
No, not at all. I think obviously it'll benefit Man City. They're not used to it, but I think it'll benefit Aston Villa more because they were used to it before this season. And well, maybe not so much because they were playing in Europe even still, but they were able to rest and rotate a little bit, whereas this time around they are going hard at the Champions League and getting results off the back of it. And I've highlighted it a few times now, but they've now failed to win the last 8 times they've had a midweek game at the weekend. We saw that last week again, where they started strongly at Forest, weren't able to last the pace, tried to sort of go into preservation mode in that second half, and it backfired in their face quite spectacularly. So I think they'll be the beneficiaries of that full week off. And look, I think the price is nice here to oppose Man City yet again. We're getting Villa on side with a half-goal start at 184. Can't really oppose that price. I have to get involved because I'm struggling to think of another example of an overnight decline with Man City, like Man City, I should say, because I think it's easily forgotten. They started the Premier League season unbeaten in 9, having won 7 games. And yes, they weren't completely convincing in all of those 9 fixtures, but that's a hell of a start to begin your season, to then so spectacularly kind of fall off where you were. In the Premier League, 5 defeats and 7, just the 1 win. Across all comps, 8 defeats and 11, just the 1 win. Conceding 2 goals or more in 10 of those 11. Away from home, 1 draw, 6 defeats in the last 7. Conceding at least twice in every game, I should say. It's pretty spectacular. So, everything that made City so special under Pep has seemed to be kind of found to be wanting right now. And, I'm quite happy to oppose them again, because in terms of average age, City's starting 11 against United last week was the oldest named by either Manchester side in the derby since 2017. And I thought it showed, actually. I thought they, first of all, looked scared stiff to make a mistake, but lacked any sort of inspiration. There was no pace about them. They just looked laboured and out of ideas. And I think Pep Guardiola is also looking a little bit out of ideas at the minute. And I think Villa will absolutely be sort of looking at this game as the potential to pick up 3 points. They've won this game last year, of course. They drew the year before, and they've got a penchant for picking up big results against big teams. We know that. We talked about it ahead of the Bayern Munich game in the Champions League. They held Juventus here, where they probably should have won as well. They held both Liverpool and Chelsea towards the back end of last season. They beat Arsenal. Arsenal did come here and win earlier this season, but you boys will say, probably didn't deserve to on the balance of play. Villa were very, very good that day. And look, I think they'll raise their game. It's an early kickoff on a Saturday. The fans will be up for it. And I think City, if they play in the same manner they have now for not just the last couple of weeks, but starting to be a couple of months, they're going to be in problems. So defensively, since Rodri was injured, only Southampton have given up more big chances than Man City, which is a hell of a stat and would worry me if I'm going to back City around about 2.2 this weekend. So I think Villa have got a great opportunity to knock them even further down. So I think Villa at the price 3.4 to win is fine, but just to be pretty solid, I think Villa plus half a goal at 183 is really the best bet for me on this game.
Okay, I'll lean towards Mark on this one. Villa, half a goal head start, effectively double chance, but it is on the Asian handicap line, so you will be getting the best price out there, which is 183 at the time of recording. If you want to do slightly same angle, slightly different bet, under 2.5 goals for Adrian, 254. Let's move on to Everton versus Chelsea and take a look at the betting that we currently have on matchbook.com. Chelsea just keep winning football matches in the Premier League. Everton 5.7, Chelsea 167 favourites. The draw is currently 4.4. Both teams to score more standard 175. Yes, Everton get a 1 goal head start, and the Asian handicap line on 185, and 2.5 is the total. Over is 1.7. Mark, is it going to be a similar Everton approach from, say, that Emirates game on Saturday, only it's at home, so there'll be a little bit more going forward, or will they really try to frustrate this Chelsea team? Because we've seen teams maybe try and do that. I think Leicester City away is the perfect example. The first 30 minutes, I don't think Leicester got in Chelsea's half. It was just Chelsea passing the ball, so they are used to maybe having to break down a low block away from home sometimes.
I think, you've kind of answered your own question there. I think absolutely Everton will follow the same blueprint. It's something they've done in tough games in the past, and I don't think Sean Dyche is going to move away from that plan just because they're at home. Maybe we'll see a little bit more from them in the final third, and the atmosphere should be good after the takeover has been kind of confirmed and approved. So I think Everton are sort of dangerous underdogs actually coming into this game. They've not been an easy watch for the most of this season, or most of Dyche's tenure. They've been criticised quite heavily for the way in which he sets his team up to spoil rather than to entertain. But he would argue he's achieving Everton's aims right now. They're 3 points above the drop zone. But as an attacking process, they are pretty brutal. They failed to score in 8 of their 15 league games, including 5 of the last 6. The outlier was the 4-0 win over Wolves, where 2 of the goals were own goals, and 1 was that kind of weird Ashley Young free kick, which somehow went in. They only had 4 shots on target in that game and 8 shots in the box, but scored 4 goals, and against the worst defence in the division as well. So only rock bottom Southampton have scored fewer goals than Everton's 11 this season. However, you do have to commend them for those sort of defensive efforts, because since conceding 13 in their opening 4 league games, they've conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League across the last 11. Just 8 goals in those 11 fixtures. And again, quite bizarrely, 4 of those came away at Man United, where United scored 4 goals from 5 shots on target and an XG of 1.1. So theoretically, that total could even be shorter than those 8 goals in 11 games. Anyway, Liverpool have kept more clean sheets, the only side to keep more clean sheets since the opening weekend than Everton's 6. And I think we saw it all in its kind of ugly glory at Emirates Stadium last week. They managed just 2 shots, but the industrious midfield 3 did a really good job of protecting the back 4, funneling Arsenal out wide, forcing them to put the balls into the box. And that's the kind of meat and drink that this Everton defence kind of preys upon. And Jordan Pickford's very good at coming for crosses too. So look, I think that blueprint will be laid out yet again. And for all Chelsea's impressive attacking approach for the most part of this season, I did think they lacked a little bit of craft and guile against Brentford in the first half last week. Brentford surprisingly went with more of a sort of a low block compared to what they're accustomed to, probably to try and stop the rot when playing away from home. And they frustrated Chelsea for large parts of that game. So look, clearly Chelsea are the better side. They're the better personnel. Absolutely, they do. But I would be slightly concerned about backing them at really short prices at Goodison this weekend. So the way in which I've kind of got around that, having considered Everton +1 on the Asian handicap, I'm going to back Chelsea double chance and under 3.5 goals. So they don't have to win. We get the 0-0, the 1-1 onside, plus the 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, or 2-1 away victory. Everton have gone under 2.5 in 8 of the last 11. 5 of those 11 went under 1.5. And if you take out Chelsea's trips to Wolves and Southampton, the two worst defences in the Premier League, they've actually gone under 3.5 goals in 12 of 14 Premier League matches too. So that surprised me actually. But yeah, I think Everton can absolutely be competitive in this game, but ultimately Chelsea should have enough to pick up something from this game.
Okay, my favourite Ashley Young stat is he hit his 50th Premier League goal with that free kick mark, but was on 39 in 2012, which is 12 years ago. So it took him 12 years to score his remaining 11 goals, which I thought was crazy, but just shows how he adapted his game. In fairness to him, and has had such a long Premier League career. Mark, on Chelsea double chance under 3.5 goals. Adrian, over to you. I mean, we talk about Chelsea. We flipped the script on them after our preseason priors, I guess, on Chelsea early enough, I would say, and they just look like a really, really good team that are in a title race, whether they like it or not. They're second favourites currently.
Yeah, they've got good players, haven't they? They've got lots of good players and a smart manager who's doing a great job. So, yeah, they're in the conversation for sure. I was maybe more impressed than Mark was with them against Brentford. I think it was a good performance, really strong, powerful. The way that they attack at pace, they've got good legs, great energy about them. I think that they will ultimately overwhelm Everton in the game. They have a shocking record there. They've lost 5 of their last 6 at Goodison, which isn't great, but they're well set up to go away from home and win. They've won 6 games. They've got 19 away points, and they've scored 23 away goals. They're ranking number 1 in all those departments. Not many clean sheets, but they keep scoring, don't they? They've scored in 15 of their 16 games this season. I think Chelsea are in a rich vein of form, and I don't want to bet against them. I think that, there will be a wobble or two along the way, but they're playing with real confidence at the moment. And I think that, a little bit like that Leicester game, they can go there, control it. And because they've got a little bit of pace, or I don't know what the word is, dynamism inside the final third, energy is probably the term I prefer with them. I think they will find a way to win the game. So I'm going to go with Chelsea to win and under 4.5 goals. Mark's outlined all the stats for why this won't be hugely free scoring. Everton matches do average 2.33 goals a game, which is the lowest across the entire Premier League. So they're capable of keeping a clean sheet. I don't know if they can do it. They did it against Arsenal. I don't know if they can do it again against Chelsea. And if Chelsea score, I think they will win the game. So, Chelsea in under 4.5 comes out just the wrong side of even money, 1.98.
Yeah, so 2.33 goals a game in this era is truly disgraceful, isn't it? We will lock in. It's a tough, depending which way you want to go as a bettor here, you can go Mark Chelsea double chance and under 3.5 goals and more security in the result. Or if you want more security in goals, I'll lean towards Adrian. Chelsea to win, expect them to win, but under 4.5 goals at 198, slightly bigger price there too. Let's move on. Leicester versus Wolves. I mean, fascinating game here. We've got Leicester at 258 favourites in a Premier League game against Wolves, who are 288. The draw is 3.7. Both teams to score, 156. The Asian handicap line is a draw no bet. Leicester at 188, and 2.5 is the total, 169 favourite. And Mark, we'll start with you here. I mean, we spoke about Gary O'Neill, and the fixtures gave him an opportunity to get it right. I always felt there was something missing with that Wolves team. He was good tactically, but maybe not good at getting all the team together in certain moments. It's just a bit lost with Wolves at the moment. Make no mistake, though, they are in a serious relegation battle here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're 5 from safety now. 4 defeats on the spin, 3 of which were against relegation rivals. I mean, there's little defence, really, even if Wolves didn't really deserve to lose last week against Ipswich. That's happened a couple of occasions this season where they've probably not got what they deserve, but even still, it's a results business, and it was always the writing was always on the card after that defeat. This is a massive match, a proper 6-pointer, isn't it? With Leicester 2 points above the drop zone, but performing like one of the worst sides in the division all season, really, in terms of the underlying metrics. And I'm sure both sides will be targeting this. Leicester, it looked like Van Nistelrooy was quite happy to sort of just tweak a few things and rely on vibes, really, in his first few games. And he had 2 encouraging results, but the defeat at Newcastle last week had been coming, exposed the sort of fragility at the back and the lack of forward threat. I thought was quite alarming, as was the collapse, and that they had injuries, but they were dominated across the board. And I still think the jury is out on Van Nistelrooy as a tactician and his ability to sort of build a strong defence, which is something Leicester have struggled with all season. But they're too easy to play against through the middle. The protection is often missing, and whether they can find a magic formula in a week, I think is questionable. They've kept just 1 clean sheet all season. I guess they could be buoyed if Matheus Cunha is suspended for Wolves. He's been charged. I think we find out today if he has a response to that charge, but it looks like he will be banned. I guess the positive for Leicester is Vitor Pereira has agreed, but hasn't been completely confirmed, I believe, as Wolves coach at the time of recording. So he's going to have very little time to get his side together for the weekend as well. So it's very difficult to sort of know or what to expect from him and his Wolves team this weekend. But what we do know is they've defended disastrously throughout the whole season. 40 goals conceded is some going at this stage. And like Leicester, they've kept just 1 clean sheet all season. So I'm quite happy to back both teams to score here, considering the circumstances. 26 of their combined 32 games this season have seen both teams scoring. Both sides have kept just the 1 clean sheet each. And I think, I talk about the circumstances, but after this game, Leicester have to play Liverpool, Man City and Aston Villa. Wolves have to play Man United, Spurs, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool. So both sides have to be targeting this game. Both sides should be really up for it too. And I've often said, I think bad defenses often breed goals just as much as potent attacks. So, to get it into sort of territory for a more palatable price, our good old friend Anthony Taylor is at the whistle again this weekend. So both teams to score. I'm going to partner it alongside under 69.5 booking points yet again. Just the 2 cards in the Manchester derby from Taylor last week. It means he's fallen under 70 booking points in 18 of his last 20 league games too. So quite happy to have another shot at that. And the 2 selections together comes in at 188.
Okay, that's both teams to score, and Anthony Taylor to keep it under 69.5 booking points, 188. Adrian, 2 of the 3 worst defences, both teams in a relegation scrap for sure. What are you expecting?
Yeah, similar. Definitely think both teams to score is a runner. 81% success rate for both teams this season in that regard. Neither can defend brilliantly, and I could see them both getting on the score sheet here. I'm going to oppose Wolves though. They will likely be without Cunha, who's been their best player. Ryan Aït-Nouri, of course, was sent off as well last week, so he's banned. That's 2 really big players for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Vitor Pereira, will he take charge or won't he? If he does get appointed, like you say, it's very late notice. I can see this being handled by caretaker again, and again, I think that's probably a negative for them. Leicester are actually unbeaten against sides 14th or below, so the teams around them, they haven't lost to anyone yet. At home, they've only lost 3 of 8 at home as well. The 3 defeats are all clubs inside the top 7. So the King Power, against teams like Wolves, they don't tend to get beat. And Wolves, as Mark outlined at the top, have got a bad record against their relegation rivals. They've lost 5 of 7 against bottom half teams this year, or this season rather. So I like Leicester double chance here, with Vardy in great form, with the Ruud van Nistelrooy factor still a thing. Yeah, they're a bit wild. They've got a good goal threat, more of a goal threat now, but maybe they're giving up too many chances. That much is clear for all to see. But I think at home, against the side that's missing 2 of their absolute best players, possibly without the new manager in the technical area, I fancy Leicester not to get beaten here. And they do have a good record against Wolves, where if whether you think that's going to be a factor or not, historically they do all right. They're unbeaten in their last 6 Premier League home games against Wolves, and on those 6 trips to the King Power, Wolves have scored once. So yeah, we put it all together. I absolutely like both teams to score, just like Mark does. But instead of going down the bookings route, I'm going to go with Leicester to either draw the game or win the game, and that gives us 2.1.
Okay, so if you want to side on the match odds, both teams score and Leicester double chance. Let's lock in Mark's one here. This time both teams score under 69.5 booking points has been quite successful. 1 188. Insights.matchbook.com. Full recap of all those picks. Let's move on to any other bets. One from you, Mark, in Serie A here. Take it away. You're over 2.5 goals, Verona versus Milan.
Yeah, we're going to the city of love in Italy, Verona, for a Friday night feast, hopefully, of goals. Verona have been very wild and wacky this year. No draws in their opening 16 games, 5 wins, 11 defeats. They're 1 point and 1 place above the relegation zone in Serie A, with the worst defence in the division, but not just the worst defence by a country mile. In 16 games, they've conceded 39 goals. The next worst is rock bottom Venezia with 29 goals conceded. But what's interesting about Verona is they've scored 3 goals in home victories over Roma and Napoli this season. They've also been thrashed 5-0 at home to Inter. Juventus came here and scored 3 in a 3-0 win. Nobody concedes 3 goals or more to this Juventus team, not even Man City. So, they've lost 6-1 at Atalanta, 3-1 at Fiorentina, 2-1 at Lazio. So they do tend to come up short against the big boys. But they do have a penchant for sort of getting on the score sheet and causing a few problems of their own. And interestingly, over 2.5 goals, which is the selection here at 182, has landed in 13 of their 16 league games so far this season. They've also conceded multiple goals in 11 of those as well. And they're playing a Milan side who have been quite stuffy, quite functional, quite uninspiring when they've been playing at San Siro. But whenever they go away from home, they're quite exciting and often involved in high-scoring shootouts. And this has been the case for quite some time. So just this season alone under Paulo Fonseca, 6 of their 7 away Serie A games have seen overs and BTTS both bank. The only game it didn't came when they kept a clean sheet away at second bottom Monza, who are the league's lowest goal scorers. But this has been going on for quite some time, actually. And in their 26 away league games, going back to the start of last season, both teams to score has landed in 20 of 26 Milan away games, but overs has landed in 21 of those 26, over 3.5 goals in 54% of those fixtures as well. So, 21 from 26 Milan away games, 13 of 16 Verona matches across all venues this season have gone over, and we're getting 182 on a repeat. So, happy to back that. It should be good fun.
Okay, that's over 2.5 goals, 182. Adrian, for you, I mean, a team that's been good to the podcast, I would say Sheffield United landed Mark's best bet with both teams to score no last week. Away to Cardiff, they just keep going strong in Championship, currently leading Leeds by 3 points.
Yeah, I would have had them odds on here, but they're not. 2.16 on Sheffield United, so that just leapt off the page for me in what looked quite a trappy card. I've only got the one EFL pick this week. There's a few difficult games to call, but this one feels like an away win all day long. Sheffield United are top of the Championship, leaders by 3. It would be leaders by 5 points. Remember, they started the season on -2, so they are the best team in the Championship. They've won 8 of their last 10 matches. They're top of the form table as well. And you go back, you go over the season as a whole, they've lost 2 of 21. This is rock solid form from the Blades. They barely give a goal away. 14 clean sheets in those 21 games. They're really efficient. They're not that exciting, actually. Not playing amazing football. They're just solid at the back. And then they've got good talent in forward areas that tend to score enough goals to win them games. Cardiff are sort of languishing a bit at the moment. I think they've said to Omar Ritza that he's got the gig until the end of the season, interim. But it's not gone well of late. After an initial sort of spike, Cardiff have won 2 of their last 10. They're winless in 7. And their last 3 home games at an increasingly sort of quiet home stadium there. They lost to Blackburn. They lost to QPR. They lost to Preston. Now, if you lose those games, you can absolutely lose to Sheffield United, or on a level above, really, those 3 outfits. Not defending well. They've let in 8 across their last 4 as well, Cardiff. Beaten 6 times already this season in front of their own supporters. I think they'll get beat again. At 2.16, I'm definitely up for backing the Blades.
Okay, overpriced for Adrian. 2.16 should be odds on. Sheffield United away to Cardiff. Moving on to our long shots. Mark, we sort of referenced this game, obviously, when previewing it, but if you want a longer shot in Villa versus Manchester City, you really think they're overpriced and backable if you're looking for a price along the lines of 4.3.
Definitely. I mean, Adrian's already outlined that Unai Emery's got a bit of a blueprint for getting positive results against the likes of Manchester City. They beat them and nullified them last season when City went on to win the league. This is a shadow of the same side from last year. They obviously beat Arsenal as well last season. Could and possibly should have beaten Arsenal this season. They've turned over Bayern Munich here. Really should have beaten Juventus here as well. So yeah, I just think it's absolutely the right way to go forward here and back Aston Villa in some way or form. For the long shot, I'm going to back them to win alongside over 1.5 goals. It gets us to 4.1, just rules out the 1-0 correct score. City have lost 6 of the last 7 away games, conceded 2 goals more in each of those 7 games, as they have in 10 of the last 11 across all venues and across all comps. So yeah, I think Villa will be well up for this after the week off. Early kick-off on Saturday with a vociferous crowd support behind them. Yeah, quite happy to back them in various markets. So yeah, Villa to win and over 1.5 goals.
Okay, Villa, of course, a big price on the win, but if you put in over 1.5 goals, you get that up to 4.1. Adrian, you briefly mentioned Brentford versus Nottingham Forest. I mean, we need to take a moment to see where Forest are on the table. This is a massive sample size, 16 games, 28 points, 2 behind Arsenal, 1 ahead of City, only 6 behind second place Chelsea. It's been an extraordinary season. And away to Brentford have a good home record, as we touched on a couple of weeks ago, but you feel they're a bit overpriced here, and there is goals in this game too.
Oh, definitely goals. Yeah, I think so. I mean, Brentford at home seems to guarantee goals, doesn't it? It's crazy the amount of goals we've seen in those matches. But yeah, might be an opportunity to oppose Brentford, who have been so good at home. It's the first really tough home game for them. I know they beat Bournemouth, but Forest have been, there or thereabouts around the top 4 all season. They're an excellent team, Nottingham Forest, and I think that this will be a challenge. And remember, Brentford have conceded in all their home games so far, and they've come out the right side just in a load of high-scoring matches against bottom half teams. Well, Forest are a different level to most of the teams that have visited the GTEC this season. Brentford's record overall against the top 10 this season, so the top half sides, is lost 6. 1-1, and that was that home win against Bournemouth. Well beaten by Chelsea and Newcastle, obviously in the Carabao Cup, even though they inexplicably, in my opinion, rotated, I think, 3 first-choice players, including Brian and Mbeumo. So, yeah, I mean, what are they doing there? I mean, Brentford have got to try and get to a cup final, surely. Anyway, they've conceded at least 2 goals, Brentford, in every game against top half sides as well this season. So, yeah, I fancy Forest to get a couple here and potentially win the game. I like Forest to win and both teams to score. It's 5.7 on that. Both teams' scores landed in every home game for Brentford. 14 of 16 overall. Forest have won 5 of their last 8 matches as well. Their only away defeats were at Arsenal and Manchester City. They've won at Liverpool. They've won at Man United. They've won at Southampton, won at Leicester. And they've scored in almost every match this season, scored in 13 of 16 games. So, yeah, I give them a shot here. I really do. Of winning a game, of winning at Brentford in a match that features both teams scoring, because Brentford always seem to score.
Okay, Forest both teams to score. Yes, as Adrian said, 5.7 away to Brentford. And Mark, this is your best bet in that game, so it gives you a chance to maybe speak a bit about that League Cup. I've yet to see a team put out a full team in the League Cup and then maybe rest a few players for the Premier League game, because it's 1-38. Brentford are not going down this year. Why not just give it a go? I think clubs still underestimate the impact of even a semi-final on clubs' fans' memories of a season. It's just my opinion.
Wholeheartedly agree with both of you. I love Adrian's disdain, and I absolutely hate clubs who do this, and it's why I've lost a huge amount of love and respect for both cup competitions, in all honesty. We're at the quarter-final stage, and they're not picking their best 11s. You're Brentford, you're not Manchester City or Liverpool with a huge squad. Look, just go with it. You've got no European commitments. It just drives me mad. And if you're not going to take the cup competitions seriously or respect it with your best 11s at this stage, then why should we as fans? And that's why I watched no football in the cup competitions on Wednesday night. I'm not going to watch Spurs United either, because what's the point? I'd rather watch the league games at the weekend when these teams sort of put all their emphasis into those particular fixtures. But that's a different rant for a different day. And this is my best bet for the week, which is over 2.5 goals at 178. I think that's a terrific price. Adrian's already outlined all the good reasons to sort of be involved in this game. But in terms of the numbers itself, the price implies a 56% chance that we see 3 goals or more in this match, which I think everyone would agree feels pretty low. even more off the sort of expectation where I am, because the Premier League is already averaging 3.02 goals per game. 60% of all games in the Premier League have featured 3 goals or more, and these two have been big contributors in their respective home and away games. So Brentford at the Community Stadium, 7 of 8 have gone over, 6 of 8 have gone over 3.5, 5 of 8 have seen over 4.5 goals. Both teams have scored in every match, an average of 5 goals per game in Brentford's home fixtures, which is remarkable, really. And if you go back further to the start of last season, 74% of their home fixtures have hit over 2.5 goals. Forest come into this clash having gone over in 7 of their last 8, home or away. They've only failed to score at City and Arsenal in their 8 away days, 5 of which went over 2.5 goals, and 11 of 18 of their away games under Nuno in the Premier League have also gone over. That's 61%. So again, way over the expected goal line for this weekend. If you look at those 18 away Forest fixtures, they've kept just 2 clean sheets under Nuno, but they have scored in 14 of those 18. And if you look at these two teams, I think there's probably 4 very live threats in the centre-half options for both teams from set pieces. I think both teams have real ability in counter-attacking positions and transitions. I think there's more than enough punch and intent from both teams in open play as well. And since Forest were promoted to the Premier League, they played 4 times in league meetings, 3 of which have gone over. All 4 have delivered both teams to score winners as well. So it's a fixture that tends to produce excitement and entertainment. So quite happy to back overs at 178.
Pretty decent case, I would say. 178 goals expected in that game in the market, not quite. Catching up there, 178 over 2.5 goals. Adrian, final word to you. League 2, MK Dons currently sitting 8th, place 7 points ahead of Newport, and you expect them to at least get the job done with a win or a draw and under 3.5 goals. So you're not expecting goals.
I think MK Dons, I expect them to finish top 3, actually. I think they've got a really good team, and they're on a roll. They changed their manager quite early in the season, brought in Scott Lindsay, who took Crawley up, if you remember, knocking out MK Dons in the semi-final. So he's a really good manager. And up until they did lose at Gillingham last time out, but they'd won 6 in a row prior to that, and they're top of various form tables. MK Dons, they've been flying. A number of their players are in good nick. Liam Kelly's getting back to his best. Alex Gilby seems to be scoring in every single game. And you know, they're a good footballing team. And they're up against Newport here. Newport are trying to play good football. They've railed back a little bit on that, given the promises they made at the start of the season with a new manager, Jardim, who promised possession football. And I think he's realised that that's maybe not possible if you're managing Newport County week in, week out. But I would fancy MK Dons to go there and absolutely not get beaten. It's MK Dons double chance and under 3.5 goals for me at 1.9. Newport haven't won a game since October the 1st. So we just need that run to go on for at least one more week and we're okay. Loads of draws in there. And then they're not a terrible team. 5 draws in their last 6. 4 goalless draws in their last 6. 5 clean sheets in 8 for Newport. So they're defensively, they're solid, but they don't score many goals. Couple of stats: fewest shots in League 2, Newport. Fewest shots in the box in League 2 by 13 from the nearest team, Newport. So I think MK Dons win a low-scoring game here or draw. So I'm going to go with MK double chance under 3.5 goals, 1.9.
That's away to Newport, 1.9. My thanks to Mark and Adrian. As alluded to at the top of the show, we will have a special Christmas special with increased offer on the Bet Builder, money back offer too if you are betting with Matchbook. So do check it out. It will be in your podcast feed on Monday the 23rd. So listen over the Christmas period. But one more week to go. My thanks to the 2 guys. Insights.matchbook.com, full recap of all the guys' picks, and make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and follow wherever you're watching or listening. We'll chat to you next Monday. Please God, enjoy the weekend's football. Bye bye.